Good. Okay. Welcome to the Concern Podcast, where we unpacked political, socio-economic, and cultural stories shaping our world. I'm Emmanuel Taban, and today on our conversation, we're going to dive into a topic that is about our community or heritage and culture. And on this conversation, I'm honored to be joined by Mr. Jude, who is the president of the Pan-African Group Association here in the Yukon. And as I said, our main focus on this conversation is mainly going to be focusing on the role of this organization here in the Yukon. What is it doing, and what are the challenges that maybe the members of this organization are facing in the Yukon? And Mr. Jude, pleased to have you on this conversation. Welcome to the Concern Podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. And how is the summer going so far? It's just summer has started, and people probably have so many plans for the summer. What do you have for the summer this time around?
Oh, it's going great. We're adapting to the changes.
Right. Okay.
Weather, right.
Cool. And yeah, you are the president of the Pan-African Group Yukon, the Pan-African Group Association Yukon, and maybe people would be wondering, what is this organization all about? What are its aims and objectives?
Yeah, the Pan-African Group Association Yukon was registered as a non-profit organization in the year 2019, and basically it was established to provide networking opportunities and build and encourage and support our members and foster a strong presence of the African community in the Yukon. Cool. And collaborate with other like-minded organizations to make Yukon their home. Right.
And yeah, you mentioned about the organization maybe to collaborate, doing networking and all that stuff. Like, who deserves to be a member of this organization? What is the criteria used to determining a membership in this organization? Who qualifies? Is it just anyone, or people who can trace their ancestry to Africa? Who can be a member for this organization?
Any person of African descent or whoever can trace their ancestry to Africa is eligible to be a member. Right. Even if you are a spouse to an African person, right, you are eligible to be a member. Yeah. If you lived in any part of the world, as far as you look like an African, right, you're.
So according to what you say, like if I decide to maybe marry a white person, so yeah, that white person becomes
by that union, right, the person can be a member, but may not be a voting member, right, but will be a nominal member.
Nominal member. Okay, exciting. Good to know about that.
Yes.
And yeah, you know, just like any other association in the Yukon or maybe community, there could be so many challenges. You know, what do you think is the major challenge right now that the African community is facing here in the Yukon? Because I know one of it is the housing problem. Is there any other major problem that the members of the African community are facing here in the Yukon?
Yes, well, housing is a general problem, so let me not even go right there. Housing is a general problem. Yeah. But there's also this problem of, you know, this, I don't know whether to call it uncommon bias. Right. In some instances, I have had a number of persons call my attention to, you know, some treatments at workplaces that they're not very comfortable with, and right, they raise such issues, and we'll just try to encourage them to focus on the positives in their workplace and downplay on anything that has to do with dampening your morale as a person. You know? Right. So, yeah, we've had a number of such issues. I had a member told me some time ago that she and the family were in the grocery shop. Right. And okay, this person obviously is married to, you know, a Caucasian. Right. But she was there with the family doing grocery shopping, and just as they were doing the grocery shopping, right, they had a security guy just, you know, walking behind them all through the time, you know. And right, she was surprised. So what is the meaning of this, you know? Right. Yeah. very little things, happen to people, but I've always advised them, don't even look at that.
Right.
Just be focused on what is positive about this place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and maybe if people come to your office and present their complaints regarding maybe challenges that they face, things to do with, just like the scenario you've given us.
Yeah.
What do you normally do? What do you do? Like, do you sometimes also take it ahead and maybe, apart from this issue of being maybe biased at work, but some of the challenges, maybe just like housing, you've mentioned that it's a general problem here in the Yukon. What is the organization doing in resolving that?
Yeah, like the housing problems around, I know it's common to everyone, but I have had the opportunity of presenting papers, in forums, about this and possible solutions that can be, that are viable. I've presented that in one of the meetings with the minister and the MP sometime last year.
Right.
I also wrote some, proposals on how to solve this problem, through the MP Brenda Hanley.
Right.
And I have sent some copies of such proposals to the city council also.
Cool. Yeah. It's exciting that there's something being done in order to maybe counter these challenges that not only the African community is facing, but generally the Yukon. And yeah, one more question maybe. Every year, for instance, in Canada and the United States of America in February, they do celebrate the Black History Month, and in the UK it's done in October, I think, of every year. And it's mainly to celebrate and honor the contribution of the African communities in these respective countries. So what do you think is the contribution, or what is the impact of the African community on the Yukon generally?
Right from time immemorial, Africans have been contributing to developments in every part of the world.
Right.
You agree with me on that? And most of the inventions in the world today were made by some blacks in the United States. So in addition to that, so we as a community here, we try to do our own part to contribute to the development of the community, of the society here. Right. We have some experts in various fields that are working with the government, and we have people in the health sector, we have people in the private businesses and entrepreneurship. So yeah, everybody's making their own contribution in their own very little way, but these add up to the general pool of contributions.
Exactly.
By everybody.
Right. Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, and yeah, I've known a few people here who are members of the organization. I mean, members of the community, who really are doing great, and they're working in various sectors, as you've mentioned, and I feel like that is really a very good contribution that the community is doing to this society, or to this general community of the Yukon. And maybe another question is, the community or the organization, the membership of the organization probably comprises of people from different countries. Like when we talk about Africa, we're talking about 54 countries, and maybe people from different countries with different cultures and different languages, who probably have different beliefs and so forth. And also, not only Africa, but we also do have people from maybe the Caribbean. And as you mentioned at the start, that if someone maybe marries from another place, so that person becomes a member. And I'm just wondering, like, how do you manage bringing all these differences together? How do you deal with that as a leader?
Well, that's part of the leadership skill that one has to possess in managing and working through people to achieve common goals.
Right.
It is a difficult task, but with determination, commitment, and a passion, one weathers through whatever storm that's ahead of us.
Right.
Yes, and like you said, Africa, 54 countries, including the Caribbeans. We have people from every part of these places, and we're forging ahead, and we're making progress.
Right.
Yeah. It's still a work in progress, but we're making progress.
Exactly. Yeah, that might be a very, very hard task, really, for some people. And I'm excited that you're doing it. You're doing it as a leader, like just bringing different people with different beliefs together, and you know, it's not an easy task, but I'm happy that you're doing that.
Thank you very much for that.
And one more thing, maybe. I like when I first arrived here in the Yukon, I came in 2021, and when I arrived here, I just see a few number of Africans like on the streets, but now I've seen that the number has been growing like really so fast. The previous year, how many members do you have right now for the organization?
Yes, the African families, they are increasing in number by day. Now, when we started, we just had about 5 or 4 families that I know then.
Right.
You know, we're just about 4 or 5 families that came here, and over time, started seeing people, you know, gradually increasing in numbers. You know. Although we may have been way more than what we are right now, because people still come and go. Right? I just had a few of our members who just, you know, moved back to where they came from, you know, not quite long ago. So yeah, there's this continuous transitioning, you know, in and out of this place by a member. Otherwise, the number would have, you know, skyrocketed by now. Yeah. Some people just come for work purposes, and after a certain stipulated time they want to stay, they go back. But my own self, I came here to stay for 1 or 2 years, but behold, I'm still here.
Yeah, I think that's a story with so many people in the Yukon, you know. Yeah. They just come like, in the aspect, they never expect to stay here for quite long, like just a year, but they find themselves staying here forever. And maybe the reason also why some people are living is because of the cold here, you know. So many people are not used to this cold. This is one of the coldest places. So it's not easy here up in the north. So what I've learned also is that the organization celebrates every year the African Day, which is the commemoration of the 25th of May, 1963, when the Organization of African Unity was formed in Addis Ababa. And here we do it every year. And so excited that it's happening this weekend on 18. Why are we doing it on 18 here, not on the 25th of May?
Okay, yes, this year's African Day celebration will be holding on the 18th of May 2025 at the Kwalin Dun Cultural Center. Right. This year we chose the 18th of May because that was the only day we could have a venue. But it's always difficult to get venue, you know, for events most of the time, unless you have to book months and months ahead of time. Right. So, like I'm talking to you now, venue, this same venue, this is one of the most, you know, useful venue for celebrating big events like this. Right. So, for next year, some of these venues have been booked. So that's why it's a difficult thing to do. So what we do, we just pick a date that we're able to get a venue close to the 25th of May. Right. Then whatever we get that's as close as possible to that date, we use that date. That's why this year's one is on the 18th. The one of last year was on the 26th, just a day after. So it's just the same reason.
Oh, cool. Good to know that. Yeah. Good to know that. And what activities are we
So we have a lot of activities lined up. We have a number of activities lined up, you know, as part of the program for the day. We'll have fashion show, you know, in our African attires. Cool. We'll have poems. We're going to have this special hair tying, you know, artistry style. We're going to have dancing. We're going to have lots of food and snacks, you know, for everybody, you know. We're going to have a lot of other things, and there are a number of door prizes, a whole lot of door prizes to be won. Well, as far as you have a ticket that guarantees you an entrance, you are eligible for any of the door prizes. And besides the door prizes, there are other prizes to be won, you know. There'll be a kind of quiz, you know, questions and answers. Then whoever is able to answer some of those questions also get a prize. So it's a win-win for all, and we expect everybody to come and have fun. Just come and have fun and learn about the African continent, learn about its people, its culture, the tourism potentials in Africa, and part of the Caribbean, and how we are, intrinsically, binded together by some common, traits.
Right.
You get to know all that as you come.
Yeah. I think this is really a very important event because I believe people here, they know less about Africa. Yeah. I remember there was a day like I was just walking on the street and some guy asked me like, where are you from? And I told him I'm from South Sudan. And they're like, is that in South Africa? And I was like, no, South Sudan is a very different country. It's not South Africa. So I believe events like this probably will give people information about Africa and they'll get to know much about it. That's a very good one there. And maybe I would also like to ask you a question regarding people who might be planning to come here. People back home in Africa, they associate being here in the West or abroad to being maybe to success or wealth. Some people think if you're here, you're just rich. By virtue, you become rich. That's what people think. But what message do you have for people who are planning maybe to come from Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, South Sudan, South Africa, all over Africa who are planning to move here? What message do you have for them? And what do you think they need to have in mind before coming here?
Two things. One, if you're stable, you're comfortable in Africa, and nothing is threatening your existence, I don't think I wouldn't advise you to make that move.
Right.
And secondly, if you have the potentials to be able to utilize some of the advantages on this part of the world by virtue of your education, expertise in some fields, in some very unique fields, and you know that coming down to this part of the world would excel you beyond the limits you have on the other side, then I will advise you to come.
Right.
So those are the only two reasons.
Right. That's a very strong message there. If you're stable, don't tempt to come here. It's not that here is bad, but it's just hard to come to a new place, like leaving behind everything. People who come here, they struggle with so many things, and some of them really become homesick, and they face a lot of challenges. It's only that some of them don't say it out, but there are so many challenges. And the message is, if you are stable back home, if you're happy, just remain there. And that is not meant to scare you, by the way. It's just the fact. That's the truth.
You can visit, but I wouldn't advise anybody that's very stable and comfortable to move.
Right. Exactly. Cool. Great one there. And I believe you have been in Canada for quite long. You probably have stayed not only in Yukon. Before coming to Yukon, you were in another province. How do you compare Yukon to some parts of Canada? Maybe Alberta and this part of Calgary. Like, how is Yukon compared to those ends?
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities between Alberta and the Yukon.
Right.
In terms of its weather, they are almost the same. In terms of the weather, the coldness here is comparable. The coldness there is comparable to what is here.
Right.
The difference is that this one is longer. This one, the duration of the coldness here is longer. That's the major difference between the cold here and in Alberta.
Right.
And that's a major thing, I see, because I've lived in both places, and that's the only reason.
Exactly.
That I would say, okay, this is a little bit.
Okay, cool. And maybe lastly, what message do you have for people who are watching this video, probably those who are watching it here from the Yukon, and in regards to the 18th of May, that is this weekend, what message do you have for them? And also, what message do you have maybe for Africans who are watching it back home? What last words would you like them to know?
Okay, as an African in the Yukon, in Canada, I urge you, if you're living in the Yukon, to come and have a feel of how it is to be an African in Yukon.
Right.
Come and have fun. Come and have a taste of our hospitality. come and have a taste of our culinary expertise, and come and have a taste of how we dance and have fun and make merriment amongst ourselves.
Exactly. Cool.
Everybody's invited on the 18th of May, 2025 at the Kwalindun Cultural Center.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Mr. Jude, for gracing this conversation. I'm excited, and it's an honor to have you on this conversation. And thanks so much for all the information you've given regarding the Pan-African Group Association in the Yukon, and for all your thoughtful advice to our people back home. Thank you so much. And for those who are watching us again, I want to say Mr. Jude is the president of the Pan-African Group Association here in the Yukon, which comprises Africans from all over Africa back home, and also those from Caribbean, but also those who are married to maybe spouse from different other descent. So this is the organization that is existing here in the Yukon. So, and I'm honored that I had Mr. Jude here in the conversation. Thanks so much, Mr. Jude.
Thank you very much for having me.
Cool. And for those who are watching us here in the Yukon, I'm going to have the link that is for the ticket. I'll post it on the YouTube video. You can go and buy the ticket, and the ticket is only at $20 for adults, and kids are for free. And the date is 18, that is this Sunday, at Kwalindun Cultural Center, that is in downtown. So let's all meet there at Kwalindun Cultural Center and celebrate being an African, and also learn much about Africa. Thank you so much. And this is the Concern Podcast once again, where we unpack political, social, and cultural information that shapes our world. Thank you so much for watching.